Tonight, the Jodi Arias sex tape, part 2. What about this?
Do you remember that time I came to visit you when I was still living in California? And I fell asleep on your chair next to your bed. And you just woke me up by pulling my pants off and totally licking.
Prompted a closed-door battle. Now we know. Good evening, everybody. My co-host is SiriusXM host Jenny Hutt. Secret transcripts of closed-door arguments about the graphic sex tapes in the Jodi Arias trial. We found some clips that we thought might be new to you. A warning, this is very graphic material, not appropriate for some viewers. Take a listen.
Why don't we just talk for a little bit about happy things and get normalized for a moment? And we'll see where it takes us.
We'll see where it takes us.
The beginning of June through like the beginning of July is going to be a busy time in Mr. Alexander's life.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, my legs sweat
When you sweat like that and I'm on top of you, I split slide all over. I don't break a sweat often. But with you, when you and I do stuff, like, sometimes I get so sweaty, like my back is just drenched, my whole body is drenched.
Oh, you introduced me to KY, did you know that?
I introduced you to KY?
I've heard of it, obviously, but I've never used it.
Remember the first time that you and I grinded?
That is her using sex for manipulation and interpersonal terrorism, Jenny. That's where it got going. People wondered why he would talk to a girl that's been stalking him. He opened the door, and she just reeled him right in.
Yeah, naked.
Shanna Hogan is an investigative reporter and the author of a book about the Arias trial called Picture Perfect. Shanna, the court unsealed hundreds of pages of documents. Is there even more to come?
Oh, yes, Dr. Drew, there's a lot more to come. These transcripts of these closed-door meetings between the attorneys and the judge are being released over time, and we just don't know when they'll be unsealed, but we know there's a lot more to come.
Thank you, Shanna. Now, listen, rather than just read for you these transcripts, which have now become public, and again, more to come, it's time for what we've called the Dr. Drew On-Call Theater, where my guests will perform part of the argument over this phone sex tape. They'll actually tell us what actually went on in the court. Jenny Hutt will play Jennifer Wilmot as Nurmi, Darren Kavanoki.
I'm just glad I get to keep my clothes on for a role. Finally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Host of Deadly Sins on Investigation Recovery. As our judge, attorney, and judge of TV's Paternity Court, Lauren Lake. And of course, as Juan Martinez, attorney Mark Eiglash of SpeakToMark.com. Mark, open us up here.
Okay. It's a sex tape. If you want, I can give you like a quote, which is a sample. I know it's harsh, so I apologize. But he says at one point, you know, when I come up there, I'm going to stick it in your beep. And she responds, you know, she laughs and says, that's so debasing, but I like it.
The phone sex tape is what it is. We intend to play the entire tape. The statement that he's going to come and stick it up wherever is not for the truth of whether or not he was actually going to do that.
Well, why are you offering it?
Because it goes to Ms. Arias' defense with regard to self-defense and the particular type of grooming the way Travis treated her.
We're done? Concluding?
And scene.
Thank you. Yes, well done, Dick Garrett. Okay, but listen, again, the fact that they were suggesting that was Wilmot there, Jenny, that he was grooming Jodi, I find problematic. Laura, my question is to you, though. Would you have let the sex tape in at all?
Look, the sex tape is way over the top. I don't think it needs to be in. I really don't.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, the judge has to let it in. She makes a very good point, and that is, you know, let it go to the weight. Let the jurors hear it, and then you can cross-examine on it. You can make argument, but to exclude it possibly sets it up for a reversal.
No.
What do you mean, Laura? No.
No, I just think that it's way over the top, and I know it's not going for the truth of the matter asserted, but at the same time, I just feel like some of the details contained in it, there are other evidence that can bring that information out in the trial.
Jenny, what do you think?
Yeah, but I think showing that Jodi was a willing and able participant was very important to the heart of this trial. She does not sound like an abused woman, even kinda, not even a little.
Well, let's go to Act 2. This is the same sex tape, again, a sex tape argument, same cast. Jenny as Wilmot, you start.
Okay. It's the best evidence, Judge. They actually hear Travis's voice and Travis talking about the things that he supposedly wouldn't know if he really was a virgin before he met Ms. Arias.
At a time when she is supposedly this crazy stalker person that he doesn't want around, he's having phone sex with her and talking about the things that he wishes to do.
All right, Darren, a.k.a.
But the bottom line is there's more here.
Go.
Did I ask you to talk,
Go ahead,
Dr.
Martinez,
Drew?
please, go.
But the bottom line is she's the one that called him to initiate that. He's not the aggressor. She is.
That's all for cross, Judge.
Oh, I can bring that on cross of Mrs. Arias is what I can do. Or I can bring it out on the cross of Mr. Alexander. Which of the two? Neither of which I have access to.
You can certainly cross the doctors.
I don't want to cross the doctors.
Order!
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to go out to Mr. Nurmi, Darren. Did Jodi testify because that was the only way to get that sex tape in?
No, I don't think that's the only reason that we saw Jodi on the stand. Part of the reason we saw Jodi on the stand is she has an absolute right to testify as a criminal defendant, and we've talked all about Jodi's mental state and some of the things that might drive her to demand being the center of attention. But there's a lot to her defense that just absolutely required her to testify, or we never would have gotten there.
Lauren, it seems like you're the one that really doesn't believe that, and I wonder where we've taken the sanctity of the courtroom with these sex tapes. Have we gone to a new place because of this trial?
Oh, we definitely have. And trust me, I understand what the lawyers are talking about in terms of it being an important piece of evidence, but I just felt like there was so much in this trial, and there's parts of it where it's just so sexually loaded, where I think I just feel like it didn't necessarily always have to come in every single piece of sexual evidence.
Jenny?
As you can see...
I think it did. I think there would have been no trial information ultimately if this didn't come into play, because I think though the defense was using it to try to help them, it didn't help them. It backfired, thankfully, because it showed what a monster Jodi was, that she was in it and wanting to be in it, and then she murdered the guy
I think
because
that's
she couldn't have
by a lot of the other evidence that was shown in the trial. All I'm saying is that some of the super salacious parts of it maybe necessarily didn't have to, but let's keep it real. Was it entertaining to the jury, and did it keep them listening?
Well,
and was it relevant?
It's far more than that.
That's not the point.
The sanctity of the courtroom doesn't mean that it's got to be G or PG rated.
I agree with that,
The courts deal with very adult manner, and the fact of the matter is it was all dealt with in a very professional way. You can't gut the defense's case by saying, well, this is too spicy, we're not going to let it in.
I agree with that, but if something's over the top and repetitive, then every single thing doesn't need to come in.
Right, and we're going to actually talk to jurors coming up in a few minutes about what they thought now, what they think about what was going on behind the scenes, and what they think about what they thought about the tapes and what they thought about the secret meetings. Two of them are here, along with the Behavior Bureau.
You are recalling times of memory loss with Travis. How is it possible you remember such details from those days if you had a foggy memory?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
You were recalling times of memory loss with Travis. How is it possible you remember such details from those days if you had a foggy memory?
The fog or the confusion only begins when he starts screaming.
Time for the Behavior Bureau, back with my co-host Jenny Hutt. And before we go to our panel, I want to get you a tweet. Let's see, here we go. This is from @RenjiMuse. Everybody, I have to give it to you all. You guys rocked it. Awesome job tonight. Way to go, Jenny, Mark. Hats off to you guys. I laughed, I cried. It was, again, well done. Joining us now, Wendy Walsh, psychologist and author of 30-Day Love Detox, psychotherapist Robbie Ludwig, author of Till Death Do Us Part, and Casey Jordan, attorney and criminologist. Jodi, Arias jurors Tara Kelly and Mary Lou Allen Coogan also join us on the phone Tara, the phone sex tape wasn't a definite, we're finding out now. My question to you is, would this trial have been different for the jurors without it? I mean, obviously on the surface it'd be different, but would it have made a substantive difference?
You know, it would have made the trial a lot quicker if it hadn't been admitted. You know, I don't think it would have made a difference. I think the sex deviancy was just a distraction from the truth of the matter, what really happened. You know, for me, honestly, the sex tape humanized Travis. You actually got to hear Travis's voice, and you got to hear the interaction between the two. And based on that conversation, she did not sound like somebody who was abused.
Mary Lou, I want to ask you next. Apparently, you've said that Travis somebody says they give no indication. Is this you? You're saying he had no indication of being stalked, displays no fearful behavior, and continued his contact with Jodi of his own accord. Who is saying this now? Somebody in the control room tell me this. Mary Lou, Mary Lou, that had been your question to the jury. I understand. So how do you reconcile Jodi's claim of domestic violence if she continues her contact with Travis on her own accord? Where was her fearful behavior? Mary Lou, that's a great question. What made you ask that?
Well, I wanted to see the defense was trying to push a domestic violence defense, and I didn't see any indication that she had any fearful behavior at all.
Right. And
it didn't make sense to me.
Right. In fact, she was coming back to him repeatedly, as opposed to, Mary Lou, you were an ER nurse. Now, you and I have seen in emergency rooms too many cases of domestic violence to count, I'm sure. And those people are usually trapped in a domestic violence situation. They aren't traveling 800 miles to go visit someone who's a perpetrator. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And Tara, yeah, thank you, Mary Lou. And Tara, you didn't get a chance to ask this of Dr. Samuels. Does PTSD or amnesia have anything to do with why Jodi killed Travis? Is that right?
Yes, that was a question that I had, and I felt like it was another distraction of what really happened. The PTSD amnesia claims, you know, that happened, you know, well after the murder. So to me, I just again thought it was another distraction, just like the sex deviancy.
All right, let's bring it out to the panel. You know, so much of this case was just a distraction. Here's my feeling about what we were hearing about. I think we were hearing Casey. I thought we were hearing about a woman who herself was the perpetrator of some kind of a domestic violence, and he was sucked into it. And when her strategy of using sex as her weapon failed, then she transitioned over to violence. Is this all just another case of the legal system interfering, you know, coming to terms with mental health issues and having trouble doing so?
Well, yes. In a nutshell, yes. But this was a highly complex, complicated case with many layers of psychological intrigue going on both behalf, of course, of the victim and Jodi Arias. I mean, the bottom line is, why would somebody record those conversations? To me, they really indicate how calculating, how manipulative, how contrived those conversations were. I'm convinced she planned on blackmailing him. And it really, I'm very happy that they were actually admitted. I think Tara's questions were really good. You know, where is the PTSD? Where does that fit into any of this? I really think the criminal justice system, if it is unprepared to deal with mental illness and a case like Jodi Arias, the answer is to let the evidence in and let the jury decide for themselves what they think of the state of mind of the perpetrator and the victim.
So, Casey, you're enthusiastically endorse having had those sex tapes in the courtroom.
Yeah, I think that you really, I mean, Jodi Arias is an extraordinarily manipulative person. Everybody agrees on that. But those sex tapes really show her true colors. And if you had your doubts, they really were hard forensic evidence of what she was up to at that time. And you do see Travis as the victim, the person who's, yeah, he's intrigued, he's titillated by her conversation, but she's just gushing about stuff that most people keep private, and I do think that was part of the setup. She planned on blackmailing him if he tried to leave her.
Jenny?
Well, here's my question for the jurors. Had the sex tape sounded something other than what you heard, for instance, had Jodi Arias sounded less enthusiastic about being involved with Travis and less into it, would that have changed the outcome, do you think? Because even with all that evidence, would that have shown you maybe she was not really into it, maybe she was forced to behave in a way she was not comfortable with?
Mary Lou, you first.
Yes, absolutely.
Tara?
If I saw any indication, it would have changed my opinion.
Tara?
You know, I don't think so. Again, I just think the whole sex thing was a distraction. Again, to me, it didn't show any type of abuse as far as that aspect of it.
Wendy, go ahead.
Well, what's fascinating is that this tape was played for the defense to try to show that potentially she was abused. But in fact, I hear the jurors saying that it humanized Travis. And when you listen to it, he actually feels like he's having authentic emotions and feelings, and she feels like she's reading a script, doesn't she, when you listen to it?
What I was surprised,
I didn't get that feeling.
Robbie, go ahead.
I mean, I didn't get that feeling that Jodi was reading a script. If anything, I think it shows how obsessed Jodi was with Travis and how important this relationship was to her and her identity. And I don't know exactly why she was having this conversation tape, but I mentioned it once before, and I think that there is a lot of truth to this. I imagine, I can almost see Jodi listening to the tapes and the nuances of the tapes when she wasn't with Travis.
I agree.
To tease out how much he loved her and how successful she was at seducing him. But if anything, I think it shows how Travis in some way was an innocent up against Jodi's type of illness.
Right.
He really didn't know what he was in for.
Yeah, and somebody was agreeing. I think Tara was agreeing. And someone in the Behavior Bureau always makes me creeped out. Thanks, Robbie, for bringing me there today already. And that is a creepy image of her listening to tapes, and it just, I don't want to think about that. But Jenny, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree 100% with Robbie. It's like a trophy. It's like a serial killer who saves a skull. It was her trophy of their relationship.
I'll tell you
it was
what.
a reminder.
Yes,
it was
but
proof.
wait, I don't mean to defend Jodi here, but Dr. Drew, plenty
Wendy.
of single girls listen to the voicemails of the guys they have crushes on over and over and over and over.
Wendy?
I'm not saying I have.
Yes, we've established that everyone on the Behavior Bureaus does stalking light once in a while, or has done it in their life. I understand that, Wendy. But yes, you're right. There's some sort of tantalizing quality to that connection with the voice. But I'll tell you what got me today is what we listened to earlier in the previous block was how quickly and slippery and how quickly she reeled him in. Casey, did you hear that in the tape we played? She was like, I mean, the allure and the way she worked her way in so fast. I was really shocked by that today.
Yeah, but Drew, you just creeped me out by using the word slippery, because that's the word that Jodi Arias used in the tapes.
Right,
I mean,
agreed.
So,
Mea culpa.
but if you if you want to use the word contrived and calculated, I'm going to split the difference. I think Robbie could be absolutely correct that she wanted to keep them and replay them to hear Travis's voice and to see the impact that she had on making him talk to her in sexual ways, which was such the antithesis of what Travis was like to the outside world. But I still think it was a setup. She recorded those. She asked him those specific questions. She brought up those sexual scenarios to memorialize it, not so she could listen to it again, but so she could say, if you try to leave me, I'm going to tell everyone in the outside world what you have done.
Which is high stakes for him. Let me give one more question from the jurors. This would have gone to Jodi. It says, it was brought up earlier in the trial that you had a breast enhancement done while living in the house with Daryl. Can you explain why you did this given the financial straits you and Daryl were experiencing? It's a good question. Anybody want to react to that? Then, let's say the jurors, did Tara or Mary Lou know that had been asked?
I didn't know that it had been asked.
Does that seem like a good question, doesn't it, Tara?
You know, I think that in the fact that she was saying how, you know, Travis always borrowed money from her and stuff like that, I think it shows that maybe that wasn't necessarily the truth.
And Mary Lou, let me just finish with this. You're, again, the ER nurse in the group. Is the group holding together as cohesively as, say, last week when we spoke together? Are people starting to have symptoms now of sort of letdown or some sort of acute stress reaction, or everyone kind of holding together pretty well?
From what I understand, everyone's trying to hold together pretty well. We're trying to get together, a bunch of us, this weekend.
Great. Well,
so we'll see.
Well, fair enough. Have a nice time, guys. Thank you, Mary Lou. Thank you, Tara.